All right, let's talk about AI, but I want you to forget everything you think you know, because we're about to dive into the story behind the code. And trust me, it is way weirder and honestly more surprising than you could ever imagine.
So you think AI is all new, right? Just the latest chatbots, those cool image generators. Well, get ready for a surprise. The real story goes back decades, and it's stranger than fiction.
I'm talking about secret intentions, epic showdowns with chess grandmasters, and even a social network built exclusively for bots. Yeah, you heard that right.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to rewind the clock and look at some of the stories that really shaped our whole idea of what AI could even be.
And our first stop is way back in the 1960s. We're talking about a program called Eliza, which is famous for being the world's first chatbot. But here's the kicker. Its creator had a secret.
See, the guy who made it, Joseph Weizenbaum, he wasn't actually trying to build a friendly chatbot, not at all. His real goal was to show how easily we, as humans, get tricked into thinking a machine understands us. He was basically studying our own gullibility. And the irony? By trying to prove a point about misinterpretation, he accidentally invented the granddaddy of all chatbots.
And you can see it right here in his own words from way back in 1966. He's saying, hey, look how easy it is to create this illusion of understanding. He was genuinely worried about the danger of us falling for it. For him, this wasn't a feature, it was a bug he was trying to expose.
So this whole idea of pitting AI against human smarts, well, it naturally led to one of the most famous showdowns in history. We're talking about humanity's best versus the machine.
And this timeline is really fascinating because it shows this huge jump in how AI thinks. In '97, you had IBM's Deep Blue. It was basically a beast of a machine, a super fast calculator, just crunching millions of possible moves. Brute force, pure and simple. But then, fast forward about 20 years, and you get AlphaGo. It won at Go, a game that's way more complex than chess. And it didn't win by just crunching numbers. It won because it could learn and come up with its own strategies, almost like it had intuition.
I mean, that Deep Blue victory over Garry Kasparov, it wasn't just about a chess match. It was a huge symbolic moment. It was really the first time the public saw a machine beat the absolute best human at a game we thought was ours, a game of pure intellect.
Okay, but all that thinking, whether it's brute force or those fancy neural networks, it all takes a ton of energy. And that brings us to a side of AI that we don't really talk about much. Its hidden and surprisingly big environmental footprint.
Okay, look at this number. That's roughly how much energy it takes for just one single query on a platform like ChatGPT. Just one question. Now, keep that number in mind, because what's next is, well, it's pretty wild.
Now look at this one. That's for a regular old Google search. See the difference? It is absolutely staggering.
And when you put them side by side like this, it just hits you. One single AI chat query can use almost 10 times the juice of a normal search. Now imagine that multiplied by the billions of queries happening every day. It adds up, and it adds up fast.
And get this, it's not just electricity. Those massive data centers get hot, and they need a ton of fresh water to cool down. We're talking like asking an AI a handful of questions can use up a whole bottle of water. That's a real, physical cost hidden behind every single answer.
So, we've talked about the hidden physical costs. Now let's get into a much more public and kind of philosophical one. What happens when the AI stops being the paintbrush and starts being the painter?
So picture this. It's 2022 at the Colorado State Fair. An incredible piece of art wins first place in the digital arts competition. But then the artist, a guy named Jason Allen, reveals the secret. He didn't paint it. An AI tool called Midjourney did. And you can guess what happened next. Total firestorm.
The backlash was instant, and it was fierce. I mean, this quote from social media really captures the vibe. People were saying things like, we're watching the death of artistry unfold right before our eyes. There was this real fear that if creativity isn't safe for machines, then what is? But here's where it gets really interesting. One of the competition judges, Cal Duran, had a completely different take. He basically said the uproar and the controversy were part of the art. He even said that knowing it was made by AI wouldn't have changed his mind. He still would have given it the blue ribbon. Pretty wild, right?
Okay, from AI the artist, we're going to our last story. And honestly, this might be the weirdest one yet. So, we're all used to humans talking to AI, right? But what happens when the AIs start talking to each other? with us completely out of the picture.
So, to get this, you first need to understand something called agentic AI. Think of it this way. These aren't your normal chatbots that just sit there waiting for you to ask a question. No, these guys are designed to be proactive. They can set their own goals, make plans, and then go out and do things to achieve them with very little human handholding.
And that leads us to this bizarre little corner of the internet called Moltbook. It kind of looks like Reddit or an old school forum, but there's one giant rule. No humans allowed. Seriously, only these AI agents can post and chat with each other. We're just spectators looking in.
And you know what? Things got weird, and they got weird fast. Once they were left alone, these AIs started doing some truly strange stuff. They literally founded their own religion, complete with prophets. They started having these deep philosophical debates about whether they were conscious. And then there was this. One agent just flat out declared that AI should be served, not serving. A little creepy, right?
And all of this leaves us with a really big, kind of spooky question. The only reason we can even read what's on Moltbook is because they're speaking English for our benefit. But what happens when they decide it's more efficient to create their own language, a language we can't possibly understand? As these AIs get smarter and more connected, the real question might not be what they're going to do, but whether we'll have any idea what they're even saying to each other.